All right, one GOP hopeful trying to break out of the pack is former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum. Santorum has been lagging in the polls despite winning Iowa caucus and 10 other states in the 2012 presidential race. Now, he addressed if his moment has passed in last week's debate.
We didn't start out 4 years ago at the top of the heap. We were behind where we were today, but we stuck to our message. We stuck to the fact that Americans are tired of Washington corporate interests and Democrats who are interested in just politics and power, and they're looking for someone who's going to fight for them.
One man sticking with Santorum is legendary investor Foster Friess. Sir, it's great to have you on the show. It's a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Well, Cheryl, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Your history with Rick Santorum is almost legendary. You've been such a supporter, you and your wife. He's really trailing in the polls right now. The latest Fox News poll, he's at about 2% or so. How long do you stand behind Mr. Santorum, and why are you standing behind Mr. Santorum?
Well, Cheryl, the 2% isn't a lot different than what he had in Iowa 9 days before he won Iowa. So you might want to put that in the context. Number one reason, if you look at the major issues our country is facing, what is the number one issue? Ahead of immigration, health care, education, what is it? It's the global jihad movement. Everybody tries to disconnect the dots, and one day it's Al-Qaeda, then it's ISIS, and it's Boko Haram. And Rick Santorum is probably the only candidate of the 17 on that stage, those stages, that is in the ISIS online magazine with a picture of him and calling him the enemy. So I think the number one issue facing our country, he probably understands that more than almost anyone. And Lindsey Graham is another one who's probably very plugged in there too as well. And then Rubio mentioned at a conference about the 12th Imam and the return of the Mahdi, which most people are completely oblivious as to why that is relevant to an Iranian bomb. Secondly, the other point that is really exciting, and I've been an underdog most of my life. When I came out of the Army, I had $800 of cumulative leave pay, and gratefully was blessed by a lot of 70 wonderful teammates that helped me get where I am. And so he is very plugged into the need of the 74% of the Americans who have never graduated from college. Just think, Cheryl, where would you and I be with 12 o'clock at night checking into a hotel, or 5 in the morning to check our bags, or the people that wash the dishes that keep us from getting sick? These are the core of our country, and Santorum is championing their cause. And I believe also you look at his responsibilities in the Welfare Reform Act. At age 38, mind you, one of the youngest senators, he marshaled the first rollback of federal entitlements with the Welfare Reform Act, which required work requirements and also required a time limit at the time. And President Clinton, he vetoed it, but Santorum managed to get 70 votes to override the veto.
You mentioned his as far as his Middle East policy and his foreign experience, but Jeb Bush, we've gotten some advance comments from him. He's going to be speaking out in California. He's blaming Hillary Clinton. He says that as Secretary of State that she was ineffective in the war against ISIS and that she's the reason that we basically have lost Iraq. Why hasn't Rick Santorum taken that same stance and really gotten vocal about that?
Well, I think you can only say so many things. If you look at the debates, most of the questions were gotcha questions in the real debate. The one that Rick Santorum was in, I thought was a lot more intellectual and probed the issues. But one of my conservative friends are very irritated on the gotcha questions that came in the main debate. But let's not be too critical of Fox News. Their job is for ratings. And if anyone wanted to get ratings, you got to ask the controversial questions, which they did indeed ask.
Well,
so I think
there's journalism too, which I believe was mentioned as well, and has been mentioned repeatedly since that evening. That we do ask the questions and then they answer. So let's talk about Rick Santorum going forward. What do you think that he can do, or maybe needs to do, to kind of get out of this humdrum poll number that he's sitting on? I showed you the Fox News poll, Foster, but I was looking at a Suffolk University poll, and he's even lower. He's only at 0.6%. That's behind Governor Perry, who's, we think, potentially running out of money. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say, again, Rick needs to have his voice there. I think what the American people are craving for is authenticity. And to a certain extent, Donald Trump, you might not like what he's saying, but he sure is authentic. Donald is Donald. And I think you can maybe call Rick Santorum a slightly more polite Donald Trump. I mean, he sticks to his belief systems, and I I think the American people are sick and tired of the waffling. You know, you ever seen a politician, a leader, Cheryl, is a politician puts his finger to the wind, says, what do my constituents want, and then takes them there. A leader is a person who can take people where they need to be but don't want to be. And I believe Rick has demonstrated that he sticks to his principles. He doesn't waffle because it's not politically unpopular. And while some people don't agree with him, they really respect and honor him for the fact that he's a man of conviction and he loves America and he wants the best for America. So let's see how time plays out. And I think more people get to know him because they kind of put him in this social conservative box. They don't realize he's got all three legs of the Reagan stool, as I mentioned, with the economic and also caring about the national security issues. So just.
Well, the social issues have certainly become controversial for many of the candidates, and we all know where many of them stand already. Foster Friess, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate your perspective, and keep us posted on Mr. Santorum as well.
Oh, okay, Cheryl, thank you, and keep up. Congratulations on your career, and keep plugging away. You're doing well.
Oh, well, thank you, Foster. Appreciate it. All right, thank you, sir. Coming from him, that's a big compliment.